Welcome to Town Hall, folks. There are a few seats up front for anybody who wants one, and I see a couple in the back row there too. Thanks for coming out tonight. Our clerk, Charlie Madigan, will bring us into session officially.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Orangetown. This is the regular town board meeting. This is Tuesday, October 21st. The year is 2014. And I would ask Esther Baitler to please start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Esther?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. And on a roll call, Councilman Troy, Councilman Divney,
Here.
Councilman Moore, Councilman Valentine,
Here.
and Supervisor Stewart.
Here, thank you very much. I don't see one actually. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Got you covered, Dennis. You'll appreciate what's written on that pen there. Welcome to Town Hall. It says Stewart for Supervisor on it. It's really a great night, and apropos of the pledge which Esther just read for us, and justice for all, we have some important presentations to make regarding justice in Orangetown, and specifically the police department. But before we get into that, I just want to outline what our agenda is so you have kind of expectations and alignment. Number one, we have a number of presentations which are very important, which the police department will make. Following that, we have representatives of the VFW Post 1615 here for their proclamation. And that'll take a minute. We're really happy that they're here tonight. Then we will actually do the town board votes, which are the promotions and the appointments of the police officers who are being hired and promoted tonight. Following that, we have a public hearing on a zone change question. That'll be our first public hearing tonight. I imagine we'll have a short recess after we do the police appointments, and we'll have that hearing shortly after 8 o'clock. And then after that, we'll have more general public comment for anybody who's here to speak to any other agenda item besides the zone change, which is on the agenda for tonight. We'll have that public portion, and then we have a series of items which were workshopped last week relating to town business, and there's a couple of new items on the agenda that I'll introduce when we get to that point. So most importantly, I want to invite our police chief, Chief Nolte, here to begin our process tonight of giving out some awards and recognizing the police department and some important activities lately, and also getting to our promotions. Chief Nolte.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Stewart. If you notice on the side of our police cars are simple words, in partnership with the community. And that's what tonight's about. Tonight's about the partnerships that we have in our community that helps to keep the town of Orangetown and the residents safe. And I just want to go, I think it's always important to pause and to say, what has gone right with government? And I think I can do that. About 4 years ago, the town board and the police department started having monthly meetings. And at those meetings, as budgets were shrinking and, things weren't as easy to fund, we put our heads together and we tried to come up with ways that would keep the town safe, at the same time within budgetary constraints. One of the big topics back then was the prevalence of prescription drugs out in our community, the influx of more narcotics in our community, and how could we combat these problems in a more comprehensive way? Thanks to Dennis Troy and Tom Divney, they knew some of the people who work with the Drug Enforcement Administration, an agency that we've worked with for years, and they began a dialogue with the rest of the town board, Andy Stewart, Paul Valentine, and Tom Moore. And the DEA came in and they explained to us how they could better serve the residents of Orangetown through assigning an officer to a task force that they have in New York City full-time. There were several advantages of that. One would be is that any case that had a large criminal seizure, we would get part of the assets. But the main reason was that as the prescription drug epidemic in America became more prevalent, It was hitting Orangetown, and this was more feet on the ground for us to help us with the flow of drugs coming from New York City and other parts of the country. So with us tonight, we have the leadership of the New York office of the DEA. And I'm going to introduce them in a minute. And I will tell you, when you talk about the New York office of the DEA, it is the flagship office of the DEA organization. Although they're located in New York City, with the international this of New York City, they are combating drug issues in South America, over in Afghanistan, coming from the Asia. The New York office of the DEA is in charge of all the airports, all this whole region. Any place that drugs can come in, they're the ones who who have to deal with it. And with me tonight are several people. I'd like them to come up. I'll introduce them in this order. This is the Special Agent in Charge, James Hunt. Okay. This would be one of the Assistant Special Agents in Charge, Chris Roberts. And there's a collaboration that started in 1973 between the DEA, New York City Police, and New York State Police called the DEA Local and State Drug Task Force. And Captain Pat Courtwright is the captain assigned to that unit within the DEA. He has all the powers of a federal agent, but that's a collaboration that has really tackled drug abuse and drug enforcement in New York for 40 years. We have Jay Flaherty, who up until a short time ago was in charge of the White Plains office of the DEA, but he got promoted and now his duties are down in Manhattan. We have another assistant agent, special agent in charge, Dave Paulus, who deals with their asset forfeiture. And Special Agent Aaron Mulvey, who's their public information officer and deals with all public relations. Each of these officials, I know them all pretty well. I just want to talk about each of them one at a time and ask them to accept a plaque that they all look like this, and they read the following. And this will say, presented to Aaron Mulvey or any one of these gentlemen, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, in recognition of your contributions and commitment to drug enforcement, prevention, education in the town of Orangetown, and is presented by the Orangetown Town Board, the Orangetown Substance Abuse Committee, and the Orangetown Police Department. And I will tell you that since we've had an officer assigned to the DEA, Erin has made it her business to have the Orangetown Police Department mentioned in every press release, and actually even on television when she talks about the collaborative effort and the things. And sometimes the PIO does not get enough recognition herself because she's always getting it for other people. But I want to tell you, Erin, you're always part of every training we have up this way. You're always part of everything we do. And I just want to thank you for all you do for the town of Orangetown in the way of drug enforcement. Could you come up and please accept this? Thank you so much. I mentioned money before, and let's face it, everything comes down to money in the end. And Dave Paulus is the one who's helped us get the asset forfeiture money. But also on top of that, he recommended to us a couple of years ago that there's a pool of money we could use to assign local officers to do drug enforcement operations in town. And he got his $10,000 to $15,000 a year to do that. And as a result of that, Captain Butterworth has been able to assign officers out there in the field at drug-prone locations, and we've had some success with that. And Dave, I just want to tell you, even though you've been working from the office helping us, and I know you're a field agent one time, I can't thank you enough because we've been able to kind of get involved in programs and buy things with that asset forfeiture money that we wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. And I just can't thank you enough, and it really means a lot to us, all you do. I'm going to talk about the next two agents together, okay? And that would be Jay Flaherty and Chris Roberts. And because many of you have been to the local high schools and had, lectures in, parent universities and whatever about, the surge of drugs in our community, will know that Jay Flaherty and Chris Roberts, two people who live in the county, have been the people who've been doing those educations. Years ago, there's a program called Operation Medicine Cabinet where people bring their drugs back to us that they're not using, so they're not laying in your medicine cabinet. We still have that program going strong, but it was on the inside of the DEA that program got started. Jay and Chris have helped us to coordinate that program. They've been involved in not only the enforcement, because Jay was in charge of the White Plains office, Chris is now in charge of Rockland and northern counties when it comes to all drug enforcement operations, but they've been involved in those three prongs: education, prevention, and enforcement. And we are so fortunate to have these two men living in our community because I think they give us just a little bit of extra, and we really appreciate that. So Chris and Jay, could you come up? Thank you so much. Chris? I had mentioned this great collaboration, between the DEA and the Orangetown Police at present. And Captain Courtwright, imagine you start as a cop in New York City, you make sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. Now, he's worked in narcotics units all throughout the city, and one of the prime assignments that they give to one of their best officers is to move him over to a federal task force. And you really have to be an experienced guy and very, talented to get that assignment. And he has. He's also one of our local residents. So I was going to ask him, on behalf of the Orangetown Police Department, this presentation is to the Drug Enforcement Local and State Task Force. If you would hang this in the office of your officers, to thank them for all they do for us up here in Rockland County. Absolutely. Okay, Captain, thank you. Thank you. Now, James Hunt, let me tell you, I'm an old timer. I guess you can tell that. Not that old, but when you mention the name James Hunt, most people think you're talking about his dad, because his dad back in the 60s and 70s and 80s was the guy who kind of set the standard for how drug enforcement was done in New York City. His dad, when you mention that name to an old timer, they'll say, "Oh my God, yeah, I know him." I'm talking about the son. And you know what they say when you say, "I know the kid too"? He goes, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." That kid's a great agent too. But to make it from street agent up to the acting special agent in charge of the New York office, you got to be a good agent. And anytime we call up the New York office or we call up Sack Hunt, he'll do whatever we need to get the job done here in Rockland County, or whatever we need to do to get the job done. And I'm going to present him with this plaque, and I'm going to tell you that he's going to say a couple words about the collaboration between the DEA and the Orangetown Police. But I just want to say, on behalf of the Orangetown Police Department, we thank you, and we thank all the agents that work at the DEA for all you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this honor, for recognizing myself and my people here. Unfortunately, I'm probably the only dope here who's not a resident of Rockland County. These guys grew up here, lived their whole lives, and it really is community to them. I live in Jersey, but I appreciate all they've done for Rockland. I appreciate the collaboration with Kevin's department. We're a federal agency, and you may see things about DEA locking up guys in Mexico and Colombia, and the Pablo Escobars and Chapo Guzmans, but that's only part of what we do. The other part is working with state locals, because the real impact of drug abuse and drug addiction, drug trafficking, it hits people in this room. It's people who have been fortunate to have children, relatives who've become victims of drugs. These international narcotics traffickers, they are flooding the markets here in the United States. They want to create more addicts, as sick as that and depraved as that sounds. So local law enforcement, knocking off these dirtbag dealers who are peddling this poison to kids is very important, just as important as us going after the big guys in Colombia and Mexico. So thank you. We appreciate the collaboration with Kevin and his department and all the other departments throughout the state. Thank you very much.
I just want to acknowledge in the room is also the director of our local drug task force, Chris Goldrick, and I think the assistant special agent in charge would agree with me that there's a great collaboration, that this is being fought on the county, state, local, federal level, and that we're all trying to do the best we can. On behalf of the town, I just want to thank you, gentlemen, and thank you. Would the town board like to say anything at this point? Would the town board like to say anything at this point, or? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out tonight, guys. And thanks for your work for the town.
You know, we talk about our great partnerships, and it was something that the people sat up here back in the early 90s made a decision that although the ambulance corps in Rockland County are doing a great job, in order to save lives, we really should have a paramedic service. And so was born paramedic service in the town of Orangetown. And for, I think, all of that time, the Rockland Paramedic Service has been the agency that has brought the life-saving skills to our town. And but recently, they did something for us very special. Back there in the room, you have the executive director of the Rockland Paramedic Service, Ray Florida. And the chief of operations, Mike Murphy. Could I ask them to come up at this point? Earlier this year, at our town board meeting, we noticed that a lot of communities across America were going to a new type of treatment for people with heroin overdoses, administering a substance called Narcan. It was about the same time that Mike Murphy, the chief of operations, contacted me at Ray Florida's direction and said, why don't we train our police officers how to use this substance? So, because they're going to be the first responders, and basically it can reverse the effects of a heroin overdose or, I guess, a narcotic overdose. So with that, the thing is, we're always looking at budgets and everything. They said, no problem. They said, not only we're going to give you the substance, okay, we're going to do the training your officers would need. And the thing is, so with that, the thing is, probably almost 90 employees of the Orangetown Police Department were trained during lineup in how to use Narcan. And Mike, I just want to tell you that you're the one that kind of spearheaded this for all of Rockland County. It just was in Orangetown. Mike, you've been a paramedic for how many years?
About 30.
30 years. And the interesting thing is that Mike was telling me just last week that before that he was going to be a DEA agent. But something happened where he wasn't able to do it. But he has really enjoyed working in the emergency services, although DEA was his first choice at one point. So with that, Mike, I'd just like to present this to you. Presented to Michael E. Murphy, Chief of Operations, Rockland Paramedic Services, in recognition of your contributions and commitment to drug abuse prevention education in the town of Orangetown. This is given to you by the town board, the Orangetown Police Department, and the town's Substance Abuse Committee. Chief Murphy, I'll let you say a couple words in a minute, okay? I'm going to let Mike and Ray talk. I just want to give out another plaque. And Ray, I'll just say this to you. You know, Mike taught us this. We've had saves here in Orangetown using Narcan. But really, I think there's such a close relationship between the police department and the paramedic service. We both work 24/7. Our officers are really, join with your people, saving lives. And I just want to thank you for that relationship. You do a great job here in Orangetown and all throughout the Rockland County and the region. So on behalf of the town of Orangetown, I'd like to present the same plaque to the Rockland Paramedic Services for all they do to keep the residents of Rockland County safe. And with that, I'll turn it over to both of you to say a couple words about the Narcan training.
I promise I'll be brief. Around April, we started this program, and my goal was to train every police officer in Rockland County to administer naloxone and Narcan. And we felt it was ideal because they are the first responders, the true first responders, that should be in their hands. And we've put it in the large majority of all the police officers in Rockland County. I'm very proud of the work that they're doing with the naloxone. They've had some very unique and interesting saves from some young people who made their first or second mistake and have been able to go on in life and realize that mistake and move forward. So I'm very proud of all police officers and our organization, our paramedics, for this joint effort that we've had. Thank you.
Also, very briefly, actually, Orangetown Police Department was one of the first police departments in the Hudson Valley region to be trained in the use of the automatic defibrillators. And as I recall, as soon as they were issued the defibrillators, there was an elderly gentleman that was getting a marriage license or certificate, and he fell into cardiac arrest right here in Town Hall. And literally within an hour of us providing them with the defibrillator, he had a save. I don't know how he did after he got married, but we had a save. And just to add to Chief Murphy's statement, the prescription drugs and the narcotics epidemic proportions. I mean, I've been in emergency service, emergency medical service for many years. I've never, ever seen it like this. So I would encourage everyone to talk to your people, talk to your young people, talk to your boys and girls, talk to whoever will listen, that the prescription drugs and heroin are extremely dangerous. And it could happen to any one of us. And it doesn't even have to be a young person. There are, you know, we're finding businessmen and other people that are falling victim to this. I don't think that a mistake in using narcotics should be a death sentence. That's why we moved forward with the Narcan training. And I'm pleased to say, and Chief Murphy spearheaded it, he trained just about every police officer in the county. We can save lives with it. We do save lives with it. And hopefully we'll get through this together. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
You know, it's interesting, when we first bought those defibrillators about 1995, it was with federal drug asset forfeiture money, the same money we're getting now, that let us buy those almost like within a week. And the great thing about local government was we mentioned to the town board on a Monday night, we had the order on Tuesday, and I think within like 7 days we had the defibrillators in operation, or at least had them in the building, and within 2 weeks we were in operation. And once again, I thank the town board for looking at that as an important thing. Another thing which say, the great thing about these partnerships is that I'm going to let the supervisor and the town board talk about a new program that we're going to institute here in Orangetown that will be a life-saving program. And before I give too much of it away, I'll turn it back to the town board and the supervisor and let them talk about it. And there's a press release out there that talks about it also.
Well, you know, the chief probably do a better job of explaining this. There's town board members, Mr. Divany and Troy in particular, who have started it. But I'll just say what we're talking about, which is Project Lifesaver.
Yes.
Which is essentially a technology that a family who has a family member who's vulnerable to wandering off, they can get a little locator which the person can wear, and in the event of an emergency or a lost person, the police can track them down using radio equipment. And it's a great program. It's been tried in other places. Members of the town board proposed it. It's a modest cost and a great benefit, and I think it's great that our police department has it. I don't know if any other town board members want to kind of weigh in on that, but it's a good thing.
This was brought to my attention by one of the residents of Orangetown, is Maureen Mistigliano, who has two boys that have autism. I've attended the autism symposium the last 5 years at Pearl Hilton, where there's 500 to 600 people that show up each year. Again, it's another epidemic in terms of the number of children who have autism, and it's tough enough on the parents to worry about the children without having them run off into the road or off into another community. So this device is very important. The other thing is, my mom passed away over a year ago, and she had dementia, and it was the same concern for people with dementia, Alzheimer's, as it is with autism, is you can't be watching them every second of the day. And again, if they were lost, the devastation it would cause to the members of the family that have to go out and look for them, and again, the police be involved in looking for the people. So this project, Lifesaver, where the police department have access to the bracelets that the young people will wear, if it's autistic or if it's the senior citizen. And again, what's good about it is it goes from community to community. Clarkstown also has this also, so if somebody wandered up to Clarkstown, we could still find them. So I commend the board and the chief and the OPD for getting behind this. And I know Maureen Misigliano is very helpful about this, who brought it to us in the first place. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Troy. Anybody else? Or? Okay, at this point, I'd like to ask our auxiliary police officers to come into the room, and the auxiliary police leadership to come up to the podium by me. I'll make it simple. All the guys with the white shirts, if they could come over here by me. How you doing, Mitch? Okay, yes. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what tonight's about, and then we're going to have two aspects to it. This would be the 20th time we give out the Lieutenant Jack Lyman Auxiliary Police Service Award. And this is your auxiliary police department in front of you. There's about 25 members or so. And anybody who goes to large-scale events in Orangetown, St. Patrick's Day Parade, street fairs, whatever, runs or anything, knows that without our auxiliary police, we would not be able to provide the service that we do at these events. They are a very, important part of the public safety here in Orangetown. And these are very devoted men and women who give their own personal time to make sure that people in town can celebrate their heritage, celebrate what's important to them. And I will tell you that I am so proud. The whole time I've been here, we've had a great auxiliary police department. I think now we have it, it's even better than ever. We have some great leadership in the auxiliary police. We have some very up-and-coming people who have joined. And I just can't say enough of how much they do for our community and how much we respect them and how much we really value them as members of the Orangetown Police Department. This is going to be in two phases. I'm going to let them issue their service awards to the members who have years of service. And then I'm going to read about the Jack Lyman Award. And the Lyman family's in the back there. Could you wave to everybody, Eileen and family? And this is the 20th time we've done this, I think. And with that, I'll turn it over to the auxiliary police leadership who will be giving out the service awards.
Thank you, Chief. These will be quick. Some of the folks weren't able to make it today. But recognizing Sergeant Jake Allenberger, 5 years of service. Patrol Officer Kevin Conklin, 5 years of service. Sergeant Ernie Blitzer, 5 years of service. Patrol Officer Ray Wang, 5 years of service, and he's just transferred to New York City Police Department. Police Officer Donald Gable, 5 years of service, and he's just transferred to New York State Park Police. Police Officer Chris Haganu, 5 years of service, and he's transferred to New York Army Guard. Lieutenant Pablo Ramos, 10 years of service. That's me. Lieutenant Mitch Saul, 10 years of service. Patrol Officer Wilford Falivar, 10 years of service, and he's not here today. Patrol Officer Mike Savino, 10 years of service. Patrol Officer Quan Lee, 15 years of service. He's not here today. Patrol Officer Daniel Janavar, 15 years service. Sergeant Steve Amon, 20 years of service. Lieutenant Steve Caruso, 30 years of service. Captain Mike Conklin, 30 years of service. Thank you, Chief.
I just want to introduce someone who's up here, Sergeant Rob Ruggiero. He's, for many years now, been our auxiliary police coordinator. Rob does a great job. Rob, thank you very much for everything you do. You know, there's a little thing that hangs out in the lobby, and it's something which I wrote about 20 years ago, and it talks about Jack Lyman. And, you know, years ago when you became a police officer, once you hit 29, you couldn't be a police officer anymore. And I always thought that Jack Lyman must have gotten involved in being an electrician and had a family, and 29 got by him. But I always thought that if it hadn't, he probably would have looked to be a police officer. And I think that's the way we felt about him at the police station. But here's a little thing I wrote about him 20 years ago, and I'd like to read it to you. Jack Lyman served on the auxiliary police unit of the Orangetown Police Department for 20 years and eventually rose to the rank of lieutenant. He lived in Tappan and was a devoted husband and father to 5 children. He was an electrician by trade. Jack was well-liked and a respected man in our community. He was a familiar and welcome face around the Orangetown Police Department. Many Friday nights you see Jack Lyman riding with a regular officer. Until his untimely death, Jack was one of the most active members of the auxiliary who served the community of the town of Orangetown as an auxiliary police officer. The Jack Lyman Auxiliary Police Service Award is designed to recognize a current member of the auxiliary police unit who has shown the same devotion and service which the police department enjoyed under the tenure of Jack Lyman. He is certainly missed by all those who loved him, as well as the community which he loved so much and did so much for. Every time we present this award in his memory, one thing is sure, that the Irish eyes of Jack Lyman are smiling upon the people of the town of Orangetown, a community he loved and served so well. And I would just tell you that we give this award. Many people who are here tonight, I'd just like to say, if you could look at the plaque out there, have received this award. But I would say that most of our auxiliaries at some point in their career probably could receive the award. They're a great bunch of officers, but tonight we're going to let the auxiliary police leadership announce who's this year's recipient.
First, I'd like to thank Chief Nolte, Captain Butterworth, Sergeant Ruggiero, Lieutenant Mercurio, who is not with us tonight, for all the help they've given us. Of course, without their help, we couldn't do it. I'd also like to thank Captain Mike Conklin for our help and Administrative Lieutenant Pablo Ramos. Same thing. We couldn't do it without them. This award goes, the Jack Lyman Award goes to one of our members this year who has put in extraordinary hours, has never said no, and has always been there. And I'd like to call up right now Randy Martinez.
Well, I'm speechless. I didn't know I was going to get this, but thank you to everyone on the auxiliary. This is a great honor to me. I take, great pride in serving the community and being a part of the community. And thank you to my lieutenant, to all the lieutenants and sergeants that I work with, and I'm very excited. And I thank you guys for this award. And I was not expecting it at all, so I don't have a speech prepared. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, I'll turn it back to the town board, which will be taking a vote.
Actually, we were going to do the VFW first, and then.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Our next item, it's great that everybody's here tonight. We've got families and kids, and a lot of folks are real excited about all the different partnerships that you can see with the town, and especially going forward to the promotion of the police officers. Before we get there, though, there's one group that really deserves recognition, and that's our veterans. And specifically, I'd like to invite up, meet me at the podium there, representatives of VFW 1516. I'm sorry, I got the numbers wrong. 1615 from Blauvelt. And I will read a proclamation that is being presented tonight by the town board on the year of your 40th anniversary. And I'll tell you a little bit about what the group has accomplished. If you could just come up here for a minute. I'm gonna just present this proclamation, then we'll have Mr. Antonucci say a word or two about how this VFW works and its contributions to the community. I would be remiss if I didn't just mention that Veterans Day is coming up real soon, and as with every year, there will be a ceremony over at the Walkway of Heroes, which is one of the many projects this group has taken on. It's a partnership with the Parks Department. So we thank you for the Walkway of Heroes project, which is also the subject of a Keep Rockland Beautiful Award this year, and there's a lot to celebrate. Let me say briefly what we're thinking about on this 40th anniversary of the Raymond DiMeola Post 1615 in Blauvelt. It reads something like this. Whereas the first Veterans of Foreign Wars post in Blauvelt was formed on September 30th, 1970, and was called simply VFW Post 1615 of Blauvelt, and whereas Sergeant Raymond W. DiMeola of Blauvelt served his country with honor and distinction during the Vietnam War, making his family, friends, and entire Blauvelt community proud. And whereas Sergeant DiMeola received numerous awards, including the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, the Air Medal, the Combat Infantryman's Badge, and 2 decorations for valor from the Vietnamese government as well. And whereas on May 14th, 1969, Sergeant DiMeola, then just 21 years old, gave his life at the battle called Hamburger Hill in the Tua Tien province. And whereas in recognition of his heroism and sacrifice, VFW Post 1615 of Blauvelt was renamed in his honor on October 20th, 1974. Since that time, the post has been instrumental in keeping Sergeant DiMeola's memory alive and ensuring, through annual services on Memorial Day and Veterans Day, that the residents of Blauvelt and Orangetown never forget all of the brave men and women who have served our country and have, in many cases, paid the ultimate price to preserve our freedoms. And then it goes on to say, we're making this proclamation today and presenting it to the members representing the post tonight. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. Could we have a round of applause for the VFW?
Thank you very much. As commander of the post, I just want to thank Andy, the town board, and everyone here tonight to share with us this honor of receiving this proclamation. Thank you. We have our senior vice commander, Len Feraldi, our judge advocate, Joe Trachenberg, my nemesis and quartermaster, Ben Rojansky, my adjutant, Ed Doolin, Bob Roth, and Tom Mooney. And I would be amiss if I didn't mention that November 9th at 10 a.m. at the Walkway, we have our annual Veterans ceremony, and everybody is invited to attend. Thank you again.
back to you, Chief Nolte.
Well, I think you're going to take a vote, right?
Right. So the next order of business, as I mentioned earlier, and it's great timing, is to look ahead on our agenda just a few items where we come to the promotions and appointments of police officers. The first item on our agenda for town board vote is item number 5 under police. And this is resolved upon the recommendation of Chief of Police promote James E. Brown to the position of police captain from the Rockland County Civil Service list and so on and so forth. It gives me great pleasure to invite Lieutenant Brown to become Captain Brown and receive the certification from our chief. We will.
Are you going to vote on all of them?
Do you want? Should we have our vote and then you'll present?
Sure.
Say a word or two?
I think normally you vote and then I...
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit.
Would someone like to make a motion, please, for motion from Councilman Valentine? Do I have a second over here? From Troy, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Welcome.
Hey, before Lieutenant, soon-to-be Captain Brown comes up, I'd just like to tell the community a little bit about him. And I think the town board would agree with me is that every time we interview for promotion and every time we interview even for police officer candidates, the resumes that are presented to us are very outstanding. And we're lucky to have so many good people to look at. And part of this ceremony, I always like to tell the people about the people who we're going to be appointing or promoting so they can see the quality of police officer you have in Orangetown. I'll just tell you, Jim Brown, he grew up in town. He attended Albertus Magnus High School. He went off to SUNY Oneonta and got his bachelor's degree in business up there. He came to the police department in 1985, so he's approaching, he's in his 30th year of service. While at the police department, he attained a master's degree in public administration from Marist College. He attended the FBI National Academy, a management training program for 10 weeks down in Quantico, Virginia. He has numerous other, qualifications, schools he's been to and whatever. He served as a police officer, a sergeant, a lieutenant. Back in 2008, he was promoted to detective lieutenant, and tonight he'll be promoted to captain. So as you can see, Lieutenant Brown, his family's here, and I just want to tell everybody is that when you come up, part of the idea is that you're going to come up, but we want your family to come up and help pin the badge on and make this a family event, because the thing is, most of the candidates we have tonight grew up in town, and really this is a proud moment, not only for the candidate, but also for their family. Lieutenant Brown? I would now like to invite our town clerk and our the Brown family to come up for the swearing in and the pinning of the badge. You guys move in closer so you can get the picture, okay?
I, James Brown, do solemnly swear that I will uphold
The Constitution
Constitution
of the United States of
of
America
the United States of America
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New
of
York.
the State of New York,
And I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
disperse with the duties
disperse with the duties
of captain
of captain
to the town of Orangetown
to the town of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
God bless you.
Congratulations. Hey, Jim. Hey, say goodbye to town.
Congratulations.
And just so you know, Captain Brown will command the department's patrol division. Captain Butterworth is the other captain. He commands the Special Services Division. And that's Captain Butterworth right over there in the suit. Do you want to vote on all four or one at a time?
Whatever you prefer, it's good.
One at a time, okay. Okay, the next candidate is a candidate who's actually in the police academy already, but I just want to tell you a little bit something about her. Elizabeth Muckle. She served in the United States Air Force and was discharged as an E4 rank. She attended Nyack College and has a degree in accounting. Prior to working at the Orangetown Police Department, she had many jobs, but her last job was at PepsiCo over in Somers, and she was the Sarbanes-Oxley compliance person over there, and I think that's an accounting job. And she's also an adjunct professor of accounting at Nyack College. At least she was in the past. I don't know if she's still doing that. Elizabeth grew up in town, and she attended school locally. And with that, I'd ask her to come up here. I would now like to ask if anybody from her family or anybody who's close to her would like to come up and be here. And also, I'll ask Mrs. Madigan to come down and swear her in.
Before we that, I think we're going to have our vote before we do that.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion for appointment of Elizabeth Muckle as police officer in town of Orangetown. Can I have a second on that, please? For Valentine. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Congratulations.
I, Elizabeth Muckle,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America,
and I will uphold the Constitution
and I will uphold the Constitution
of the State of New York,
and I will perform the duties
and I will perform the duties
of police officer
to the town of Orangetown,
to the town of Orangetown,
to the people of Orangetown,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Elizabeth is currently attending the Rockland County Police Academy and is on target to graduate in December of this year. And then she'll be starting her field training. As I say, an interesting bit of trivia with the next three candidates is that all three of their fathers at one point worked for the Orangetown Police Department. Mike McDaniels' father, Steve, was a police officer. Pat Casey's father, Jim, was a police officer. And Kyle Bach's father, Jim, was a dispatcher back when I first started. And just give a wave, Jim. And some of you may know his mother from CCD over St. Aidan's also. The next candidate, Michael McDaniels, is currently serving as a detective with the New York City Police Department in their intelligence division. He's been a police officer in New York since 2005. Similar to Elizabeth, he is a military veteran, having served in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Army Reserve. He received his bachelor's degree from the University of Albany, and he graduated from American Military University with a master's degree in Mid-Eastern Studies. And Steve McDaniels, are you back there someplace? Or just Steve, just wave? Come on up, Mike. And now his family will join us up here to, he gets sworn in.
And we'll have our vote as well.
Yes. That's why I wanted you to do it first.
We could do that if you want. It's nice for you to introduce them, though. So this is a motion for the approval and appointment of Michael McDaniels as police officer in town of Orangetown. Can I have a second from Troy? All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
Okay, if I could ask Mrs. Madigan to come down and swear him in. And who's going to be doing the badge? Steve, you know, I just recommend you kind of stick it into this thing and don't try to pin it because you ruin his suit. Okay. Okay. So just so you know the drill. Okay.
I
I, Michael McDaniels,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
and I will uphold the Constitution
and I will uphold the Constitution
of the State of New York,
of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties
the duties
of
of
patrolman
patrolman
to the town of Orangetown
for the town of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
God bless you.
Congratulations, Mike. Thank you very much. Go shake the town board. Okay, yes, okay, yeah, sure. I would also like to mention that retired police officer Ron Moyer is Mike's uncle. He's in the audience. As I mentioned before, Patrick Casey, his dad was Jim Casey. He served the Orangetown Police Department, also the Rockland County Sheriff's Department before that. And his grandfather was also a police officer on his mother's side down in New York City. Now, Pat graduated with, Dennis would be happy to hear this, a bachelor's degree from Manhattan College. And he went on to go for a master's degree at Pace University. Probably one of his proud moments, though, is during the time he was in college and afterwards, he served as an intern with the Drug Enforcement Administration, and many of the agents that were here tonight knew him down there, and they highly recommended him when he was going for appointment. So with Pat, could you come up? I'd like to invite the members of the Casey family to come up and participate in the swearing in and pinning of the badge.
We'll have
Motion for Valentine. Can I have a second? Divany. All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
Get in the picture, Jim. Your mom, yeah, I'm sure you wanted to. Okay.
I, Patrick Casey,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America.
I will uphold the Constitution
I will uphold the Constitution
of the State of New York,
of the State of New York.
and I will disperse my duties as patrolman
I will disperse with my duties as patrolman
to the town of Orangetown,
to the town of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown,
and the people of Orangetown
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations. Okay. You'll have a great career. Okay, our last candidate for tonight is Kyle Bach. Now, Kyle received his, attended high school locally here in Rockland County. He received his bachelor's from St. Thomas Aquinas College in Business. Okay. It cost you a lot, right? That's why you clapped there, okay. In 2007, he took a position with the New York City Police Department. And throughout that time, he started off in the 52nd Precinct. But since that time, he's moved on to specialized units dealing with domestic violence and larceny. And the thing is, so Kyle, could you come up and join us? And I'd like to invite his parents or family members to come up and participate in the swearing in.
While the parents are coming up, the town board. Can I have a motion from Mr. Moore? Can I have a second over here from Mr. Divany? All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
I, Kyle Bach, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
and I will uphold the Constitution
and I will uphold the Constitution
of the State of New York,
and I will solemnly
and I will solemnly
do the job of patrolman
do the job of patrolman
to the town of Orangetown
to the town of Orangetown
and the people of Orangetown
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
If you like to dance, help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
How are you, Chief?
Very good, Jim.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Kathleen, if you want to put it on.
My advice is just put it to the top. Don't try to pin it. Just put, yeah, just put it, put it.
Chief's done this before.
No, put it going down here. But don't pin it.
Nice one.
You want to give this to Kyle? Can you give this
I
to
will.
him? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I just would like to thank the town board for letting me hold these ceremony tonight. And at this point, I'm complete. I'll turn it back to the town board.
Well, thank you, Chief Nolte. And on behalf of the whole board, and others may have a word or two, we want to thank the members of auxiliary and the other folks who were recognized tonight from the paramedics, and also to give our blessings and our welcome to the new police officers and the promoted captain over here, Captain Brown. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for your service. I'm going to make a motion that the town board take a 5-minute recess, allow the folks in the room here to move out and enjoy some of the refreshments the police department has put together. So thanks for coming. I'll make a motion for recess. Can I have a second, please? Second from Moore. All in favor, say aye. The ayes have it. Can I have a motion to come back into regular session, please, from Valentine, second from Divany. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Our next item is our public hearing, and then we'll have the general public comment hearing, and then we have a number of items on the agenda after that. Usually we have the town clerk verify that proper notice was given to the public of the hearing. And she has the proof that it was advertised and publicized as appropriate and in a timely way, if anybody would like to examine that. And so what we have here is something that the town board has discussed. We've had presentations from the folks who are built this supermarket and the hotel down at Orangeburg Commons regarding the inclusion of a small rear parcel in the overall development. And it's been reviewed and so on and so forth, and we'll go through some of that tonight. The purpose of this is to have an open public hearing. If anybody would like to comment on this proposed change to our zoning law, this is their opportunity. So I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed local law, amending zoning law to add a mixed-use expansion special permit and related changes in the LI zoning district. Can I have a second on that? Mr. Valentine, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. So we are now in public hearing mode. An easy way to start that would be to have Ms. Tortorella just briefly remind us and the folks here who maybe would just like to hear a kind of a recap of where we're at with this and the overall purpose of this change. Thanks so much.
Tortorella and Wexstein, and we're counsel for the petitioners on this zone change amendment. This amendment, or these amendments, would permit small parcels of land that abut existing approved and developed mixed-use special permit sites to be developed for mixed-use purposes as long as they would be functionally integrated with the larger mixed-use development.
Yes, the microphone's working.
I'll try to get closer too. So that's really the sum and substance of it. We have an abutting parcel that abuts the Orangeburg Commons Shopping Center. We're looking to be able to develop it for mixed-use purposes in conjunction with Orangeburg Commons, and it would be functionally, the two developments would be functionally integrated in terms of parking and access, utilities, and things of that nature. The amendments would also modify some of the signage regulations that are applicable in the mixed-use special permit district and define signage requirements and regulations in the abutting mixed-use expansion special permit site. The amendment would be applicable only to those sites that are eligible for mixed-use special permits under your code, and there are very specific criteria for those sites. They have to be a minimum of 10 acres. They have to have frontage on the Palisades Interstate Parkway, and they have to have frontage and/or access from Route 303. So it's a very limited group of properties that would be eligible for either the mixed-use special permit or the expansion that's being proposed in these amendments. If you have any questions, we're happy to respond to them, but that is the point of this. It would allow an application to proceed back before this board for a special permit and the other approvals that are required under your town code from the planning board and from ACABOR and any other agencies or boards or commissions with jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. Tortorella. And what we're contemplating tonight is this public hearing, some comments, and I'll ask for people to step up to the microphone in a minute, or 10 seconds. And then there's a declaration under the SECRA law, as you have to do whenever you're, if you're changing a town law. And then lastly, in the agenda, there's actually the text of the proposed law with the changes that are being considered. So we have two people who signed in under the public hearing sign-up sheet. We have with public hearings, there's a 5-minute limit on comments. May or may not need that much time. And the first person signed up is Mary Cardenas. Mrs. Cardenas?
Good evening. I'm Mary Cardenas. I'm the Orangetown historian. And I noticed on the agenda this evening there were some zoning changes and proposals for special permit for this parcel of land. On this land sits the Lent House. The Lent House, again, was built in 1752, and it's 262 years old. It was built before the Revolutionary War. Now, I thought this would be a good point, or at this point, to ask the developer in the demolition, I won't use the word demolition, but in taking this house apart, not to have it demolished, but have it dismantled. By that I mean to work with a salvage company, whereby part of the house or all of the house would be saved and reused elsewhere or reassembled elsewhere. I would hate to see part of Orangetown's history dumped, because that's what this will be. And I kind of resent that. So I am requesting the town board or asking their permission to work with the developer in having this house dismantled. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. We'll go on to other speakers, and then we'll invite responses from Mrs. Tortorella or any town board members who would like to speak on the topic. We can take in that comment seriously, and we appreciate you making that statement. Our next up is Eileen Larkin.
Good evening, members of the board. In support of Mary's request, if not to demolish the Lent House, I think as a give back to the town, the developers should be willing to do that. If this particular amendment to our zoning code is granted tonight, I think that's a small request, and it is part of our historic background as far as preservation of homes. And the other issue I have with reading over the request for the amendment to the zone change are the comments made by the Rockland County Planning Department, and it's on page 6 of the handout. I don't know what the determination is. I'm assuming that they have approved this so that it doesn't require majority plus 1 to approve this. It doesn't say that the Rockland County Planning Board has approved this. It just, you outline some conditions that they are asking for you to meet. I'm assuming that you have read them over and that you are in compliance with what they are asking for, especially the last one. Comments 5 and 6 require that the town board consider or address comments and or concerns from agencies not given here, which have not yet provided and may not provide such comments, including but not necessarily limited to the Palisade Interstate Parkway Park Commission and the New York State Department of Transportation. The town board hereby expressly overrides the same, with the caveat that the town board shall forward such comments when and if received to the town planning board to be considered by it in connection with any application for site development approval that may come before it, and further recognizes that the aesthetic and traffic concerns of those agencies respectfully were considered and adequately addressed at the time local law number blank providing for the mixed-use special permit. My concern is that this request is not just for this particular site, but in fact it is a new special permit that can be used anywhere in the town. So I guess what I'm asking, and I have to say that I was paying more attention to something else here tonight, and I just took now a quick glance at the conditions set forth by the Rockland County Planning Department. I don't think I'm speaking.
Go
5
ahead.
minutes.
You got another 2 minutes.
Thank
It's
you.
fine.
But anyway, I guess my comments to this is that the town board is fully knowledgeable of whatever comments were handed down by the Rockland County Planning Department, and that if it is passed, that it will be for the benefit of the town. And as I said before at the beginning, I hope this developer will take into consideration this one request that we are asking for. Changing our town zoning code is certainly one of the most important things you can do in the town because it affects everybody in one way, shape, or form. And so anyway, I hope that you have read all the comments and are ready to either approve or not approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Larkin. When we hear from everybody, we'll have Mrs. Tortorella explain any outstanding questions, but to just satisfy your curiosity on one big one, no, it is not applicable throughout the town. As she had just described, this special permit is only applicable to projects of a certain size and a certain location with connections to Route 303 and frontage on the Parkway and so on. So it's not something that affects the LI zone townwide by any means whatsoever. This has very restricted in terms of its applicability. Are there any others who would like to speak during the public hearing portion on the proposed amendment to the zone? I see a hand up in the rear there, sir. Please come up and let us know who you are. And
Tom Graff. I own the Lent House property. I've been cooperating with Mary from the beginning. I think she'll tell you that. And I have no plans of demolishing the house. It will be deconstructed, but I will work one-on-one with you. And anything you need, you let me know. I'll cooperate 100%. I'm not just going to rip the house down and throw it out. I understand that it has historic value, and whatever you want to do with it, you know, if I can do it, I'll do it. No problem. I just wanted to let you know.
yeah, we appreciate that. That was my understanding as well. Anybody else here to speak on the matter of the zone change petition? All right, not seeing any hands. We have a motion to close the public hearing from Tom Moore. Do I have a second? Over here, Valentine, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, this hearing is, public portion is closed. The next item on our agenda, unless any of the town board members would like to say anything at this point, is the declaration under the State Environmental Quality Review Act with respect to the adoption of this local law and the text changes to zoning law in terms of any possible environmental impacts. And there's a fair amount of description here of the matters that were considered by the town board in considering this change to the zoning law. And I don't know that I need to read them through. It might be a little, just try people's patience a bit. I was looking through it for any salient points, but essentially it describes the information that was considered, as well as the comments and concerns of various agencies that have submitted same, and many have, including our own planning board. And changes were made pursuant to those comments from both planning board and other agencies. We've heard from the public. We've looked carefully at this matter. We've had a number of presentations in terms of its environmental impacts, historic impacts, its connection to the larger site, its location by the railroad tracks, and so on and so forth. And the resolution reads that it's resolved the town board issues a determination of non-significance with respect to the reference project in the form that's described here, and authorize the town supervisor as designated agent to sign and circulate same, and to take such other and further steps as may be necessary to discharge the town board's responsibility as lead agency in accordance with the applicable provisions of law. So this is a resolution for a negative declaration under SECRA, and I'll make a motion for this. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second from Moore. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Charlie, that was unanimous. So that's the declaration under SECRA. Negative, not meaning that there's no impact at all, but that it doesn't rise to the level of the need for the kind of environmental impact statement. We've already considered all the impacts. Item number 4 is the adoption of a local law, text amendments to zoning law. And this one describes the whole significance of all the matters and documents that the town board has reviewed. The traffic study, traffic analysis, comments from the planning board, from Rockland County, planning board, our planning department, New York State DEC, and so on and so forth. We've also looked at, in terms of the comprehensive plan, the overlay zoning district, the Route 303 Sustainable Development Study, and I don't know about the rest of the board, but I think we've all been down there to look around and really understand what this change means for the LI zone in the areas where it might affect. We had a public hearing at which time members of the public wishing to speak were afforded the opportunity to do so, not to mention having had a couple of presentations on this over the last few months. Now, therefore, based on all the information before the board and the findings hereinafter made, be it resolved, the town board hereby adopts this local law. The numbers need to be filled in there, amending the town code of the town of Orangetown, Chapter 43 zoning, by adding a new section 4.32 parentheses P relating to properties located in the LI zone district in the vicinity of the intersection of State Road 303 and the Palisades Parkway, exit 5 interchange in Orangetown, and authorizing a mixed-use expansion special permit by allowing development of a small lot adjoining a mixed-use development as part of the larger unified project, as well as related amendments, which are noted here, to the tables on general use regulations, to signage regulations, as more fully set forth in the local law expressly incorporated herein, and the local law is included below. All right. It also addresses the various comments that the Rockland County Planning Department has made, overruling the ones that need to be overridden. And also with respect to the Planning Department, I, for one, have always valued their comments. And in some cases, you need to override them. We may have already fulfilled the sort of spirit of the comment in any case. So there's a list of those overrides there. We have a second from Councilman Troy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. So we now have a small amendment to our zoning law.
Just so that the vote reflects the individual. You want a roll call? Only because of the county comments and the need for supermajority on those. So if the minutes reflect that it's unanimous, 5-0, that's okay.
I heard unanimous. Were there any nays? Right.
But on a roll call, Supervisor Stewart,
Aye.
Councilman Troy,
Aye.
Councilman Moore,
Aye.
Councilman Dippney,
Yes.
and Councilman Bell.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And thank you for Mr. Graff coming out, and look forward to sort of seeing how that works between you and the Historical Society and the developers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. For your comment.
All right, so moving ahead on our agenda. Oh, right. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. The next item on our agenda we need to get back to is our public comment period, open public comment on any matter before the town board or that you think is important, with a 3-minute limit on the length of the comment. We have a couple people who have signed in to speak with the town board tonight. As always, we will listen to your concerns and see what we can do about them. First up is Eileen Larkin.
Good evening, gentlemen. This was a lovely evening tonight, appointing those wonderful people to our New York's Orangetown Police Department. I wish them well and a good commitment to the town of Orangetown. I'll just speak briefly. Carol is here tonight, and she'll go on to the other part of it. But this Saturday and Sunday, we're having our annual book sale, and I'd like to promote it. We have lots of books coming into the center. And it's a fundraiser for our center. We're hoping to put on an extension onto our building and maybe waive the fees, who knows. Anyway, our book sale is on Saturday and Sunday, October 25th and 26th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And at the same time, we have a winter coat drive. Carol has left some of these fantastic-looking handouts outside, done by one of our local residents. And she'll talk about Oak Tree Road. The other thing is the zone change you did tonight could possibly affect the opposite side of 303. So just, keeping that in mind. But I hope this works out. It certainly looks very nice over there. Lowe's is certainly a good-looking facility to drive into. The landscaping certainly looks great. And that's about it. So because tonight was such a pleasant evening, I'm going to keep it in that tone.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Ms. Clark. The spirit is very much appreciated. Next up, and we'll hopefully continue the spirit, is Esta Baitler.
Hi, my name is Esther Ann Baitler, and I live at the Catholic Lucan Living Center. There are two things I want to address. Under presentations and announcements, people should not be labeled with special needs. It is offensive. People should be accepted for what they are and who they are.
I think we all agree with you on
And
that one.
I have tried to tell people it's really not appropriate. People with intellectual disabilities is what it's now known as. It should not be written. People with special needs. People are people, regardless of what their label is. And if Dan Lukens was here, he would say I'm 100% correct on this issue. I think that should be changed to people who have intellectual disabilities and developmental. And I think the wording should be changed under the heading of presentation and announcements. I also would like to know what is going on with the sewer odor on 340. It is disgusting. Every morning our people are waking up smelling this problem. I would like to know why they don't repair these instead of spending more money on it. For years I've heard, oh, they're going to make changes. Doesn't happen. I really would like to know what's going to be done to fix it.
We're listening for you. tonight,
I
Esther.
think that something should be done.
We all agree with you on that.
But I've heard this for years. It's going to be fixed, and it doesn't.
The town is spending roughly $2.5 million on its sewer system in the
But I've
next
heard
year or
they're
so.
going to put in new sewer covers, manhole covers.
We'll certainly report that odor problem to the engineering department, as
I
we always
also
do.
would like to congratulate people who got sidewalks on Oak Tree Road. But at the same time, I'd like to know why it's taking this long to get ours done. I've been hearing it's being worked on, but yet there's been several accidents. And it's really not right.
We'll get an answer for you tonight. We're lucky to have our highway superintendent here, and we'll get a little
I
update on the
just
sidewalk.
also want to urge you to put venture in your budget, because I think
Now
it's
you're really pushing
important
it.
that venture be given money within the budget. And I think the board members should take a better look at what they put in the budget. But when it comes to venture, we're number one in the state and county.
We
And we
congratulate you on that.
deserve money in the budget. And I never see that. We are important people. And I think it's time that venture should be given money in the budget from Orangetown.
Well, thank you for your
I
comment.
think that people don't look at the budget as carefully as they should. I think that it's time now, before other people get in the budget, to make sure that you take care of people who live in venture, who need services. There are people that don't have group homes to live in. They have to live with parents that are elderly, who cannot care for people. And I think it's important that more money gets put in the budget within this coming year. And I really think this should be passed unanimously on it.
We thank you for your
Thank you.
comments
Have a
about that.
great night.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baitler. Let me just see. All right, thank you. A written statement. That's good. Did you want to speak before we go on to the next speaker, or wait until everybody's done? Okay. The next up is Mary Cardenas. Would you like to speak again?
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to ask a question regarding the approval of a change in our zoning code having to do with mixed use. Does that pertain to small parcels of land around Orangetown or very specific ones?
If you read the text of it, and you'll see, and also as the presenters were saying tonight and in previous meetings, the special use permit is restricted in specific ways. It is not applicable everywhere in Orangetown,
All right.
and neither is it applicable everywhere in the LI zone that it affects. It's applicable to a restricted area, and there are
Okay.
various criteria for that, talking about proximity to state roads and highways and so on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Michael Mandel.
Yes, good evening, Supervisor Stewart and members of the Town Board. For the record, my name is Michael Mandel, resident of Pearl River. I see there's a couple of tax certiorari cases tonight. It would be informative to the taxpayer if you just add the name of the school district. Some places you can tell by their location. Other ones we cannot. This way we have an idea of what's affecting our district or some other district. Secondly, in regards to item 16, where it says free green fees for all U.S. military veterans, regardless of residency. In the past, unofficially, Orangetown veterans have always enjoyed free golf on Veterans Day. This should be this freedom should be restricted to Orangetown residents only, or our vets will show up to find that there are no openings, that they're number 42 on the list. If we take a look what's happening at the soccer fields, people came in, I guess, a couple of months ago and complained about not being able to access the fields because of the number of Jersey residents using it. Now, I've taken a look at the soccer field parking lot on several occasions in the evening and one during the day. And what did I find? Approximately 48 to 50% of the cars were from Jersey. So what are we going to have here? We're going to have a golf course where one of our veterans from Orangetown, a taxpayer of this town, is going to show up to play golf. And they're going to say, oh, you're number 42 today. 30 of them are from Jersey, 8 of them are from Ramapo, and 3 of them are from Orangetown. This should be restricted to Orangetown residents only. And if it's not, then any Orangetown resident that shows up should be going to the top of the list. We're paying for those golf courses. And this is something, if you want to immortalize it, but it should be for our residents only. Otherwise, our residents are going to be choked out by people coming in from every other place and every other state nearby. Finally, in regards to item 17, the waiving of fees. Now, GAA is a great organization. They've done a great job in this town, and I admire them. They have not taken any money from this town, as we know with several other sports leagues who are asking us for money for everything, from water to electricity to this and that, and we're not getting the proper fees back from these people, or we have to track them down to get it. Now, if we do make an exception to the rule in this case, are we not going to set a precedent? What's the next one that we're going to give an exception to? We really can't. I know we've made commitments in the past. People said, if you come in later, but we have set up a policy, and I think we should be abiding by the policy that we do set up. And as I said, I have nothing against GAA. I wish all of our athletic teams did the same thing, not take money from us. And just wanted to comment, it's good to see we're having new officers back in the town. New blood is always good. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Mr. Mandel. We also have Carol Baxter signed in tonight.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Carol Baxter from Palisades. I just want to second what Mary Cardenas said about and he left, disassembling the house. In Palisades, have been a number of houses that have been from disassembled houses, and they've been moved to Palisades, and they've been assembled. In fact, we have recently the Hyde's house was from someplace else, and they brought it in. So I think it's a great idea to carefully disassemble the house, and someone will probably take it, and it would be wonderful to have it to continue living. I'm here for the the Oak Tree Sidewalk, and after 6 years of twists and turns, I'd like to thank Supervisor Stewart and the town board for your efforts in making the sidewalk a reality. I'd like to thank Jim Dean for not only for his 6 years of working with me and answering all my questions on this process, but also because he came up with a brilliant idea by figuring out a way to place a sidewalk on the south side of the street, which turned out to be fantastic because now the sidewalk is continuous from 340 to Route 9W. Also helpful was Mike Yenzone from his office. During the installation, we thank Stephen Muno and the Town of Orangetown crew, highway crew, as well as the crew from Gemrose Construction. These crew members were not only efficient and thoughtful in their actions, but they were also very pleasant to work with. You have a great crew. They were really wonderful to work with. And it is now wonderful to see an increase of people of all ages walking safely now on the sidewalk to the Palisades Church, to the Palisades Library, to the post office, and the Palisades Community Center. Commuters now don't have to walk in the road in the dark when they come home after a long day of work in the city. There are a few issues that are left to increase the safety in our hamlet on Route 9W, and I hope and trust the supervisor and the town council will continue their support for these safety measures. And I know that we can count on Senator Carlucci and Assemblywoman Jaffe to help be a liaison with the New York State Department of Transportation. And we're going to celebrate the sidewalk, so everyone in this room and you all are invited to a ribbon cutting on Sunday, this Sunday at noon. We're very excited to have the sidewalk, I can't tell you. We also have a great used book sale, which Eileen has mentioned, and for kids we have Scarecrows and Pumpkins, which is our 7th annual event. So I hope that you'll all come to Palisades this weekend. There's lots to do. And Chief Nolte has been helpful for any of the other safety issues that we've had on Oak Tree Road. We go back 6 years on those talks, too. So thank you for that. I'm done. Thanks.
That was great. You are so welcome, and your comments are so appropriate about the highway department and the contractors and so on. It really is something to celebrate. Everybody should come out for the ribbon cutting. Thanks for organizing that. By a show of hands, are there others here to speak on the public comment period? Any agenda item the town's got? All right, I don't see any hands up, so can I have a motion to close the public portion of this part of the meeting? From Troy, second from Moore. All in favor say aye. Aye. Councilman Valentine would like to respond to one of the questions.
Mike, as far as the golf course for the veterans, it's only for the greens fees, and the tee times will still be available to residents and permit holders long before they are to non-residents. So as long as the golfers who go there all the time know what they have to call in advance, the tee times are reserved for residents and permit holders first. So that should stem that problem. But you know as well as I do, a veteran serving our country serves the entire country, not just Orangetown. So it's open to all veterans for that reason. So thank you.
Any comments from other members of the town board about any of the matters that have been brought to our attention? No. Hearing none, I just wanted to ask Jim if you could just say a word or two about the 340 sidewalk in terms of where we're at in that process.
September 26th, we sent in what we believe is our final submittal to the DOT.
Right, because of the season, and it'll be too cold to do the cement work and so on. All right, thank you for that update. I'm looking to see if we needed any other. Are there any other matters the town board would like to raise? Okay. All righty. Okay, so the next item on our agenda has to do with the budget. October 21st is the deadline for moving from the tentative budget, which was issued on September 23rd, to the approval of a preliminary budget with probably just some modest adjustments in it, and setting us up for a public hearing on November 5th, and then a vote on the final budget on November 18th. Members of the town board, obviously in the public at large, have had the tentative budget in their hands for almost a month, and of course we have about a month to go before the final is due. This resolution adopts any changes that we want to make tonight. There are a few adjustments which have just been handed out by our finance director, who I would ask maybe just to take the podium for a minute. They don't add up to much, but we try to get it right wherever possible, and we remain open to any comments that the public has or members of the town board as we move towards a final budget in a month. This list here mentions a little bit of overtime money for zoning, planning, and a couple other items.
Yeah, what you see before you, and obviously it's not much. The grand total is $63,000. All of these were feedback from department heads, where said there's either minimum amounts of overtime that are required for example, the zoning board, where they have to go in there. The highway department, there's a minimum amount of salt that the highway superintendent needs to buy, and so that's exactly what these are. Is the feedback from the department heads where it was absolutely critical, and so that's why we have addressed those needs here. Now I don't know if the town board has additional items that they want to add to this list. That's certainly open, but this is. Like I said, this is a supervisor's budget with the mandatory changes coming back from the department heads.
I guess, go ahead,
Relatively
Tom.
small. The major item, obviously, is the snow removal chemicals, which we have to have if we need them. So I assume you worked with Mr. Dean on this.
Yeah, that's directly from Mr. Dean's recommendation. And there's a minimum amount of salt that we need to buy, and he needs to come up with that estimate way ahead of time. And so he's already done that, so we're already basically committed for this amount.
So basically, that's 50 of the 63. Right.
Correct. Correct. And the other side of that is obviously appropriating $63,000 more from fund balance to keep us under the 2% tax cap.
Yeah. And how is that working out with the fund balance? You comfortable using
Well,
63?
Yeah, with another 63, that's fine. That's not an issue.
Where's the fund balance at right now?
Hold on, Tom. It's at 20.4 million. So if we're taking 313,000 out of it,
So 20 million.
but we also plan for 2.7 million fund balance usage in this year. So it won't. 20.4 minus the 2.7 we used this year or plan to use. We'll see where we're at on that, and then another incremental 313,000 in 2015. So that gets us down to 17.
18%.
The budget is total budget is
It's more than acceptable. I mean, we were down to 13%.
yeah.
We're using so little for fund balance, not that we would prefer obviously to be adding to fund balance as has happened in past years, but
We have
it's
added.
not that much.
Well,
I mean, every year, it's going up. It's not going down.
Tom, you're correct in that. We've budgeted to use fund balance in each of the years. Now, that being said, last year there was a ton of cuts. This year there's even more cuts. So what I am saying is that we're not likely to do better like we did the past 3 years, because all those lines where there might have been a little extra cushion, there's not.
no, let's just keep in mind that using fund balance isn't necessarily bad. What that represents is taxpayers' money we've taken in and haven't used. What's important is, do we have enough? If you have too much, that's a bad thing, because it means you're holding taxpayers' money that we shouldn't have taken in the first place. So it's really a matter of, do you have the proper amount? Jeff, wasn't there some savings in the Louisville Fire Company? Wouldn't that be more than offset this 63 or about the same?
No, we actually have, that's the very first line. We actually have that increasing 7,000. Now, there's
It's a little confusing.
it did not include the 40,000 that we pay for their workers' compensation, and so, on an apples-to-apples basis, there was actually a $7,000 increase from the supervisor's budget.
Workers' comp wasn't figured in because it paid separately by the town.
Which was $40,000.
Approximately.
771.
770, and you add the 40,000, and that's where you get to the 810. So,
So that wasn't shown in the supervisor. I thought it was a separate line item. It wasn't part of their budget thing. Is that, didn't we vote on 770? But there was a separate line item on the, okay. Separate for workers' comp. Right. Okay.
Any other questions for Jeff right now?
No, we have a few more weeks before we adopt it.
Absolutely, and no doubt we'll find more changes to make in the meantime. So,
Well, one question. Have you heard from Justice? They were really adamant about funding that position in their the 2015 budget.
right, they have a vacancy. Like probably other members of the town board, I've spoken with Maureen. We've heard from the judges. They, of course, would like to fill that vacancy. My budget did not fund the vacancy, and that's where it stands right now. If the town board wants to put money in for that, then that's a discussion that we should be having.
And other than the police department, there was no other vacancies or new additions or new hires in your budget, right? No new hires. That were not filled? Yes. Right, so there's no new hires. And no new hires, okay.
No, I'd like to talk to Justice because we filled that position to deal with the tickets that were outstanding. They got it done. So we need to discuss this a little bit more and decide if we're going to put it back in the budget or not.
I'm sure they'd love to talk with you about it, and it's one of many things that you're welcome to take a second look at. So, let's see. Can I have a motion to approve the preliminary or receive and file, which is essentially the supervisor's budget with the modifications included in this handout tonight? Well, I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Troy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, and we have a preliminary budget. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jeff, for your work on it, and of course all the department heads and others who have provided information. All right, we have a couple of items from the town attorney's office, and then some special event support items. We'll work our way down through it. Number 11 is, and these have been workshop and we had some questions in terms of where exactly these locations are and so on. So can I have a motion to accept resolution number 11?
Moved.
Moved from Moore. Do I have a second? Second from Divany. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
I think one of the things on that, Mr. Mandel brought up the fact that, I agree with him, you should have the school district down. But one of the things going back, I don't know how many years ago, we, as a board, insisted that before we passed any of these tax certs, that the school districts had to okay it. But your point is well taken.
That's absolutely a situation where the schools go first.
M&T Bank and Nyack.
That is
All right, number 12, this is a tax cert as well, and it's described in this resolution. Do I hear a motion for this resolution? So moved from Troy. His second from Divany. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item number 13 from the Highway Department, approve aid to Pearl River Rotary Club Christmas and holidays in the form of porta-johns and other related support, including the showmobile, right? Is that in here? Okay. Dennis would like to make a motion for that? Second from Moore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We had a motion from Troy, a second from Moore, unanimous. Number 14 is support for the Orangeburg Fire Department's holiday parade with the showmobile. I'll make a motion for that one. Can I hear a second over here? Valentine, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 15, again, as discussed last week, we have the approval of the another 2-year contract with O'Connor Davies, keeping their fee flat from going back to 213. Someone like to make a motion for that one?
Yeah, moved.
Move for Moore, second from Divany. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 16 is a resolution to, under certain conditions, provide free golf to veterans, including non-residents, as I guess space is available. Valentine, would you like to move that one? Motion from Valentine, second from Troy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 17, introduced by Councilman Troy, is a resolution recommending the town board direct the building department to waive permit fees for the construction of a building on the property of the Gaelic Athletic League in the RPC R zone over at Rockland Site. And I think the fees are approximately $3,500. I'm looking at John because I can't remember exactly, but it was in the neighborhood of that. Is that right? I'm not wearing my glasses. He said yes. Dennis, would you like to make a motion for that one?
Yes, so moved. I'd like to point out, Rockland County Times 2 weeks ago had that this was voted down. Last week it had that it was voted up. It wasn't voted on either of those times, just to point that out. Hopefully this time we get it right.
Any other comment?
I'll second it.
Oh, we have a second from Moore. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just, again, while I appreciate the predicament Dennis is in, he made a promise, I guess, to the GAA that he would waive the fees. That was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, it was a different board, it was a different time, and if they would have built the building at that time, I think it would have been appropriate to honor that commitment. 4 years later, we've turned down so many good organizations. In fact, if you look at the building permits we got today, there's some in there from, you know, St. Dominic's and 2 firehouses, and we're not waiving their fees. I'm just really, while I support the GAA, and I think it's a good thing, I think our position as local government officials is to be clear, concise, and be fair. And you can't choose when to be fair and when not to be fair, so I can't support this.
I understand Mr. Valentine's point. We've talked about this at 2 other meetings. The thing I have said, Dominican College has had significant waiving of fees. St. Thomas Aquinas has. The fire departments have. And again, and I stick by what I said, you know, going back 4 years ago. They ran into, well, I guess going back 4 years ago, they had tough times, and they ended up downsizing their project from $2 million down to $1 million, and that's what ended up delaying them. So I'm sticking with my commitment.
I agree with Paul. We shouldn't be waiving fees. I was the one who with Dennis, and I think we started it back in 2011. But like Dennis, I met with the GAA. I gave him my word, and I'll honor that commitment. You know, I can say that's the only one outstanding group that we said we'd waive fees, and it came down to you're becoming the judge and jury on what organizations are deemed worthy and what aren't, and that's the reason we did away with it. You know, waiving the fees. So there we are. I mean, we waive fees for the veterans, you know, on the golf course, and I don't have an issue with that either.
Likewise, I'm sorry, do you want to go?
No, I was just going to, I will just to say my piece. I'm not going to vote for this resolution. It just puts us in a tough spot. You do have to be consistent and fair. And with all due respect to the Gaelic Athletic, where we've been to games and we've celebrated their accomplishments and their services to the community, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing out there, seeing all the young people playing. You just have to be fair, and you can't give away the public resources on a kind of based on favoritism. And I don't want to have our board appear to be doing that, and I don't want to feel like we're doing that. So I'm going to vote against this, again, with all due respect to every nonprofit organization out there that's serving the community.
Yeah, likewise, I agree with what you're saying on consistency. You have a very valid point. I have a history with GAA also back when I was on the board the first time, when they were in the process of doing this, maybe not quite at the 4-year mark, but I was involved in, so I feel a commitment to them as well for that reason. But I understand your point of view, being you weren't really involved with them at that point, but that's why I favor it. I think we should honor that commitment.
Yeah, my commitment is to trying to be fair in every possible way. I could call a vote on this.
I mean, Andy, if you're saying you're not being fair. I mean, we made a commitment.
I don't think you're being fair
4
if you
years
vote for
ago,
this.
but it's the resolution 16. You're waiving fees. So are you being fair on that, but not being fair on this? It's like it's a decision. We made a commitment. You were on the board. Dennis and I made a commitment. We honor the commitment, but it's not about being fair. It's about being consistent. We're trying to be consistent going forward, but we had made a commitment back 4 or 5 years ago. I honor my commitments.
The only problem I have with that is that we bypassed a lot of good organizations by telling them no.
100% agreed.
So,
We're good.
and I don't know how you can compare golf to veterans to the building department fees, because either you support the veterans or you don't. You're not picking and choosing which veterans. Like, I didn't say we're only gonna support, you know, the non-Knights if they're thing, but not the World War II veterans. So I don't think we pick and choose there.
Let's have a vote.
No, I'm just saying there's fees that we waived
There you
tonight
go.
for the veterans, which I support.
Let's vote.
So you want 3 yeses and 2 noes?
Why don't we just do a roll call vote?
That's all.
Go ahead with a roll call.
Councilman Troy?
Yes.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilman Tiffany? Yep. Councilman Valentine?
No.
And Supervisor Stewart?
No. Thank you, Ms. Madigan. Number 18 is the approval of the workplace violence policy and plan. This is for compliance with the New York State Public Employer Workplace Violence Prevention Law, which is referenced here, and to ensure a more safe and secure workplace for the employees of and the visitors to the various work locations of and throughout the town of Orangetown. The town board hereby adopts an amended workplace violence policy and plan as prepared by WD Risk Management, and a copy of that plan and policy is attached. In reference here, we have a motion from Dennis Troy.
Second.
Second from Tom Moore. Any discussion of this? This is a new item, by the way. We get it from our town attorney's office.
John has talked about it.
John's presented it before, so. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you to the town attorneys, Donna Morrison, Jeff Bensick, and all of the work the departments have done getting our employees through the trainings that have taken place over the last month or so. Excuse me, but we're having a public meeting right now, and we had our public comment already. Number 19 is a resolution upon the recommendation of the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Management and Engineering and our Human Resource Coordinator and the Labor Management Committee to change the grade of Sewer System Mechanic 1, that's the title in the civil service system, to change that grade from a 17 to a 14. So we're lowering the grade on the sewer system mechanic title. And of course, that title is provided by the county civil service. It's on the town's list of titles, but the grade is set in cooperation and negotiation with the CSEA, and this resolution reflects that. Can I have a motion for this change in the grade for that title? From Troy, I have a second over here.
Second.
From Moore. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. Number 20 is the resolved upon the recommendation of all of the same folks to appoint Kevin McGarvey to the position of Sewer System Mechanic 1 at grade 14, and step and salary that go with that in terms of his seniority in the town. Mr. McGarvey is primarily responsible for using our truck-mounted television cameras that go on these little robotic vehicles through the sewer lines, looking for cracks and roots and areas of inflow and infiltration, and helping folks who are having problems with their sewers, and helping to plan the fixing up of the leaky sewer system. And that's just a little bit of a background for that. Can I hear a motion for this resolution, please?
Moved.
Over here from Tom Divany, second from Moore.
I'd like to speak.
We have a discussion on this one. Councilman Valentine?
I have two questions. Since we just moved the sewer system mechanic 1 from grade 17 to 14, do we have any existing sewer system mechanics 1s that are now affected?
No.
We don't, so we're making a brand new title, but we're sure we don't need to have postings of this since we got a brand new job? Seems to
No,
me
it's-
you should have to post it.
It's not a, well, just to clarify, it's not a new title. It's a change in grade of an
Donna wants to
existing
speak.
title. And Donna, I'd like to recognize our Human Resources Coordinator just to give a little background and answer Mr. Valentine's question. So it's a good question to ask. There's a lot of legal twists and turns to any personnel action.
Did you
So
get my email?
I did.
Okay. This is not a new position. This is a position that the town has had. It was vacated years ago. Mr. McGarvey is moving into that position, so we're not creating a new position. The position is open, and we're moving him into it. As I said in the email, I spoke to an officer of the CSEA, and the job does not have to be posted since we met with the Labor Management Committee, and the agreement was that we were downgrading the position and then appointing Kevin McGarvey to the position.
I just, and Donna, I understand what you did, and I appreciate that. I just have trouble that the union picks and chooses, you know, like, you don't need to do it for this one, because we're appointing this guy. But for that guy, you can't appoint him, it's gotta go through, civil service law, which says this. So I'm not convinced that someone's not gonna file a grievance, which I guess they can do with anything, but that someone's not gonna file a grievance saying, hey, you know, this is, you're appointing the guy to basically a position that was unfilled. How come that wasn't posted?
Well, you can post it. And in some respects, Paul, I think what you're saying is accurate. I don't know that there is anybody else qualified, so someone can grieve it. Now,
Well, I know there's a guy that taught him how to use the camera, who's now a lesser grade, who decided not to use the camera, and then he took over the camera truck, so if I was him, and I thought the guy, you know, he's a higher grade, I think I'd be using it.
well, he may, you know, he may or not, may not have more seniority. And first of all, it's not a civil service matter. The posting is a contractual matter. So it's not, you know, a county personnel issue as, for example, with the creation of a position. Secondly, we have a labor management committee now. It is advisory and advisory only to the board, but I think historically in the past, it has reflected the vote of that committee to the extent that the CSEA affirmatively votes. That reflects the union's position. The union represents its membership. If the union and the membership are at odds, then I guess there'll be a grievance, and if posting is required, then you'll go back to square one on that. But yes, but you're also correct that the union picks and chooses sometimes. But they're entitled to do that to the extent that there's a contractual change, including adding a position, changing a grade, even for the betterment of an employee. It's subject to negotiation. And the negotiation is if the two sides say yay, but the internal workings of the CSEA.
So even if they sign off on it, it's not binding?
Tom, I'll tell you candidly, in 10 years, you know, the Labor Management Committee has a couple of members of CSBA. How they arrive at a determination that's acceptable to the union, I have no idea.
So this is my question, is they always come to us and say, you have to be consistent, and if you did something for a year, then you set a precedent, and now that's the way it's gonna be.
Well, they
So
may
now,
say that, but it's not always
Is this a
true.
new precedent that we can? Never
That
mind. I'm
you
just-
waive posting because they've consented?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what, I gotta speak up, we've been going through, our whole process is that whenever we have an opening, we post it. So the employees in the town of Orangetown have an opportunity to bid on it. We have non-competitive positions that don't require a test, that I've had, through my whole experience, posted every single one of them. And if I didn't, I heard it from everybody, labor management and anybody else. This is unreal. That's my personal opinion as the appointing authority of one of the town departments. I would never. I'm ready to vote.
Warnock says.
Oh, okay, I'll move it.
We have a motion from Troy. Do I hear a second?
So we had Disney and more, now
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm sorry, where did we leave off before?
Listen,
we
after
had a
hearing,
motion to move it by Disney and then more.
What do you want to do, Tom? You want to pull it?
I want to post it now. I mean, like, our attorney's saying we should post it. One of the department heads says it's going to create some turmoil if we don't post it. You know, and then we're going to get grieved, and it's just, to me, you post it, it's out there.
And maybe Mr. McGarvey is the one.
This has dragged on for, what, 5 years? I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this matter is relatively recent. You know, it was a strong statement by Mr. Dean, and there's some ambiguity in this. Why don't we hold off on voting it while we look at the posting question? And so on that, I would make a motion to pull it from the agenda, and we'll take it up with the full clarification of exactly what the best process is, if it makes sense to leapfrog over posting or not. Is that usually a vote for moving?
Fine.
Do we need to vote on removing an item for the agenda? I don't think so. All right. We have a couple of adjournments which are important, but I also wanted to ask the board to meet in executive session. It looks like we've got an audit as well. So why don't we do the audit? And then I'll make a motion for executive session, and we'll also have the adjournment statements.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 3 warrants for a total of $724,000. The first warrant contains 1 voucher for $5,000 and was for a sewage plant environmental fee. The second warrant consists of 82 vouchers for $246,000 and was for utilities. The third warrant consists of 147 vouchers for $470,000. $473,000 includes the following items of interest. Number 3, Applied Golf, $58,000 for the Broadacres contract. Number 5, Blue Hill.
I'm sorry, Jeff, did you say 2? You don't have a dollar amount for 2.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. That was a typo that I missed. It's small, Tom. I mean, I can...
Less than 10,000?
Yes. Yeah, well, you know what? Let me just get
That's
the
fine,
exact
that's fine.
number for you.
It's less than 10.
Well, they're not till the end of the year. I mean, they're still playing, so. It'll just depend on the weather, but yeah, I mean, usually they don't play too much in December, but they could. We don't pay them. We hold back all of the bonus until we know the final numbers, so they don't get that. So we keep ourselves protected that way. Tom Moore, it was $7,000 for Andrew Park settlement, litigation settlement. Number 6, Capasso, $48,000 for the recycling contract. Number 9, William DePersis, $17,500 for the workplace violence program. Number 11, Frontline Communications, $25,000 for communication services, both police and town-wide. Number 13, H.O. Penn Machinery, $21,000 for generator repair on the Demi truck. Number 21, NYS RPS, $38,000 for movie tickets, which are reimbursed in our revenue account. Number 20, that's just a pass-through. Number 23, SV Moffett, $27,000 for the new greens mower that we just talked about. And number 27, Upstate Concrete and Masonry, $19,000 for curb and sidewalk repair.
We have a motion from Divany, second.
Just Jeff, so that there's the paper trail, if you will. Andrew Park was the attorney. The plaintiffs were the CHAs, C-H-A.
Okay.
Do I have a second? Dennis Troy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The audit is accepted. Thank you very much, Jeff, for that. We had a couple of adjournments. Would someone like to speak on behalf of any of these individuals who passed away recently?
Mary Farley was very active in the community. Mother of John Farley, who works for the sewer department. Husband to John Sr., who coached so many different teams, the Cubs, Patriot football, and he still lends a hand. Great lady, will be missed.
Nice. I came across the obituary for Mr. Kane and noticed that he had served as a town attorney in the past, as well as a village attorney, and passed away recently, lived in Nyack for many years. Margaret Stewart. In the names of Mary Grace Farley, Gerald Kane, and Margaret Stewart, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. Can I have a second? Second from Valentine. All in favor say aye. Wait, sorry, that was a proactive adjournment because what I meant to say was pending an executive session, which I wanted to invite the town board to come into, after which there will be no further town board business. The executive session is, the reason for it is to discuss with our legal counsel and that of a private business an agreement that the town has, which involves finances and involves a discussion of details of the business's finances that are best discussed privately. Although if we make any decision regarding the agreement or modification thereof, which is what's being asked, we would do that in public and offer full explanation for any change that we decide to make. And it would certainly not be tonight. So with that, I'll make a motion for executive session. Can I have a second? Yeah, I intended by that the parties to that agreement represented by Attorney Don Brenner and whoever he's got with him. All right. Can I have a second on that? Second from Troy. All in favor say aye. All right, we're in executive session. Thank you very much for coming.